Previously on the Frontier Farmer. We are going to be mowing this area which we cleared out, and yep, we've got our next batches ready. Cookies and bread. There we go. We are in a mowing. Right, let's get this all windrowed. I think it's our first New Holland piece of equipment on the homestead. Fantastic. So yep, these are just grass bales, so they're only going to be destined for the sheep, and I'm sure the skid steer will prove itself once again, this time not tree cutting but bale loading. Let's get this parked up here. Can't wait to get ploughing with this, and we can start creating our field. Well, that was quite quick to set up this time. There we go, we've got a good width on this, so we can get to drilling. And there we are, oats nicely drilled in. Next time we have a field to mow and turn into hay, and we'll use our fantastic new baler once more. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. We are now in April, and I'm heading over to our field number 4, the grass field, because it is ready for us to mow. Yes, as suspected, it has reached full height now, so yeah, we can get on with mowing this, and we are going to be making some more hay. Now field number 3, which has also got grass, is growing, but it is nowhere near ready to mow, so we'll have to mow that later on in the year. I can hear the sawmill buzzing away busily, as always, but Tim is not very happy with me, because if you recall, last time we did accidentally spray, well, it wasn't an accident, we did deliberately spray his car with some lime, and he wasn't very happy about that, so he had a few words to say, but tried to convince him it was only a joke, so yeah, hopefully he lets me off at some point. But here are our oats, which we drilled, and they have germinated, which is very good news, but we did not get them to the secondary level of fertiliser, so we will have to come back and spray them today. But first job, because there's rain on the forecast, is getting that field mowed, and I'm going to be buying a device which I think is going to make our lives a little bit easier for hay making. You might recall that previously I was talking about getting a mower that can lay the grass into a nice swath, and I think I've found just the thing. And I also gave the International a good wash this morning because it was filthy dirty from all of the field work last month. Right, we are here, so let's see what we can get by way of swathing mower. Now, I was doing some research with the distribution centre, and I found this New Holland 116 HAYBINE, and you'll notice that it looks a bit different to most mowers, and it's called a HAYBINE, so it's a bit like a combine, but I guess for grass and hay. It has a spinning rotary on the front, which is going to cut the grass, and then at the rear it has sort of a collector, which is going to swath the grass nicely for us. Takes 50 horsepower to run, but it's quite bulky, so I think we're going to use the bigger International to run it. And it's got a cutting width of 9 meters, so not too far off our batwing mower. And it's 12,500, so a fairly reasonable price. We're going to buy it. Now, when I was looking at alternatives to mowers, there were a couple of self-propelled mowers. A good example is this Porches E303. Now this would have been pretty good to run as a mower, but you'll notice that it's $105,000, so very expensive. So yeah, I think we'll have to wait until the homestead has grown quite significantly before we can buy something like this. So the HAYBINE really is quite a cost-effective interim. And here it is, our HAYBINE. It's quite an interesting machine, and I can show you how it's going to work later on, assuming that I can line up with it correctly. And interestingly, we bought our baler last time, which was a New Holland, and this is now another New Holland piece of equipment. So yeah, we are racking up the New Holland equipment quite quickly. Let's get this back and we can start with some mowing. Now it is quite wide, this, so I have to negotiate the tracks quite carefully, but we've made it back. We can get positioned to get started. Now we obviously don't want to drive in the grass that we are going to mow, so quite handy feature of this mower is that we can swivel it to an angle, and I think that's the maximum it can go, and it's just because I'm pivoting like this. And there we go, we can drive alongside and not damage the grass that we are mowing. So we're going to get switched on, start the cutter spinning, and if we lower away we should be able to start mowing. And as you'll notice, we have got a nice swath, which is very useful. And it's useful because we can come along with our tedding hay bob, which just teads the swath, and that's going to sort this all out for us, turning it into hay. So we eliminate the need for windrowing. Superb. Right, we will lift up, and I'm going to crack on with mowing. It's going to be a little bit tricky to negotiate the headland, but I will do my best. So leave this with me, and I'll see you when we've got a nice mown field. And there we go. The HAYBINE has mown up the grass field and left it all in a nice swath. So we can exit the field and get the pivoting arm back centered. There we go, that looks pretty straight, and I just need to tow it and it will center itself. Fantastic. So this is a new device that we've implemented, and I think it's done a pretty good job. Now we can come along with the hay bob, and we can use the old farm maul for that because that's perfectly capable of running that tedder. But yeah, we need somewhere to stash this. I'm thinking somewhere in this area, potentially. Yeah, I think that part of the shed over there is going to be perfect on the end. And I moved the trailers that were here over to the sheds that are on the other side of the sawmill, so we can start to organise stuff a little bit better. There we go, dropped it off, and I'm pretty impressed with that. It's not often that you find an implement that does the job really efficiently. Sometimes there's a bit of a compromise, but with that one, I'm very happy with it for the price. Right, we want to park up the International, get the farm maul, and get the hay bob. So we might as well get the International linked up to the baler for later on, because we have got time against us. I think the rain is due around 11 o'clock, so we want to make sure we are well sorted for that time. We've got grass in there already, but that will get overridden by hay. We can switch off and go jump in the farmall. Cheers. Do love the farmall. Such a classic tractor, and I think I will always keep it. I'd never get rid of this, even if it was tired and old and wasn't functioning properly anymore. I think I'll just keep it as a nice homestead relic. There is the hay bob in front of the animal trailer, and we can get hitched up. Here we are. And one thing I failed to recognise the first time I used this hay bob is that you can unfold it to make it wider, but I'm actually going to try and run it without it being unfolded to see if it makes a tighter swath, because we want to make sure the baler's got a nice tight swath to pick up from. Alright, let's switch on and lower away, and then we should be making our swath, yep, into nice hay. Superb, and that is looking a nice tight swath. I think it was a little bit wider last time, which made it difficult for our old conventional baler to manage, but it is managing, so that is good. There's a little section here I just need to see to, and then I can carry on with the rest of the headland. So I'm going to crack on and see you when I'm finished. And we've lifted and shut off because we've done all of the rows, and that was very efficient, gotta say. It is nice having the grass already swathed, so we can just come along and ted it and row it, ted row it, and yeah, that is pretty fantastic. We've got some lovely swath there, nice and tight because didn't unfold the hay bob. So I think HAYBINE and hay bob work pretty well in tandem. Now let's get this parked up next to the HAYBINE. Right, that will do. Get the farm all parked away, and the skid steer is what we used last time to load bales with the new bale spike, and we'll be needing that again to load up the bales that we make today. So let's hop in the International and put our New Holland baler to the test once again. Did a fab job last time. We can get that unfolded whilst we are en route over. One thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge the size of the bales, because we can push the boundaries with this baler. We can go right up to a larger bale size, which I hope is not going to cause an issue for lifting the bales. They'll be heavier if they're bigger. They're more densely packed. But yeah, that shouldn't be too much of an issue, we hope. So we were at 180, now upped it to 240. Because there's grass in there, I don't know if the first bale is going to be a little bit smaller, but we can see. But let's get on in there. That grass is going to get replaced by hay. And yeah, we should be hopefully making our first hay bale momentarily. I think I can see it coming out of there. And one thing this baler offers, I don't know if I showcased it when we used it on the other field, but it does give a nice audible beep when the bales are produced. I think that's the first thing that's beeped at us on the homestead, because we've been using pretty old equipment up until now, when we're starting to increase in size and get some, well, still old, but some of the more modern old equipment, if you understand what I'm trying to say. There we go, first bale pushing out. We'll see if the second one is any bigger. And I'm going to get cracking, getting all this baled. And I'll see you when we're finished. And there we go. Been going around trying to gather some of the last snippets. We've got 87% in there, but yeah, not enough that's going to give us another bale, unfortunately. But a reasonable number of bales, not too many, which is good. And that's thanks to the larger bale size. So, challenge is now we're going to get the skid steer, and we're going to have to use the other trailer, the smaller BKT, I think it is, grain trailer, and convert it into a flatbed, because the actual bale trailer, you can see to the right, is in the animal area, and it's got our grass bales on, and I don't really have anywhere else to put the bales at the moment, so I'm thinking I'll just load the other trailer with the hay bales we've just made, and that way at the end, or at some point, we can unload those trailers into a shed somewhere. I'm probably going to have to give another shed section to bales, but it's good. We've got lots of bales, and that's going to last us probably a good year, maybe more, for all of our animals. And yeah, that is going to serve us really well. Now, I don't know whether I should have put the baler in here. Maybe I should have looked to stash the baler somewhere else. I am going to have to completely reorganise the sheds now that we've got much more space. We can leave the International there, hop in the skid steer with the bale fork, and get all of those bales loaded. We are still just about in time before 11 o'clock or thereabouts when the rain is going to start. So let's grab the trailer, get it configured, and hopefully we can get the bales picked up before the rain comes in. Trailer attached. Look out, chickens, I don't want to spike you. Here we can get the trailer configured to a flatbed. So we've got the trailer configured, and we can open up the sides, but we'll keep the front and back up, so it's a bit of a guide for our bales so they don't fall off. Alright, let's get over to the field and start picking up some bales. So we can meander through. You'll see the watchtower in the distance, keeping a ever close eye on the homestead. Let's find some middle place to stash the trailer, and yeah, hopefully we can fit all of these on here. Let's get unhitched, and we can go and spike our first bale and get them loaded up. Now I'm going to try and get this done before the rain sets in, and then we'll have to try and move our two trailers with bales on under some sort of cover. Wish me luck. Oh my goodness. Started raining and been caught out, and just trying to get these strapped up, although the straps don't seem to be going over the bales. I'm hoping they are going to stay in position. But what a nightmare. We were just loading up the bales and the rain came. It was a bit gentle at first, but then it came in very hard and fast. So yeah, unfortunately a few of our bales have got a little bit wet, but my plan is that I'm going to scoot them in under cover, probably under the sawmill, as there's no materials there at the moment. They can try and stay dry under here, hopefully, and then I will go and fetch the other trailer which has got the grass bales on with the farm, I think. Oh, this weather is not very nice. In fact, I think I'm going to take the International, because then I can stay dry in the cab. Oh, it's not nice when this weather strikes, and unfortunately it has. But we must do our best to keep the farm and homestead operational. I think the horses are getting a little bit of a wash whilst they're out here. They seem to be enjoying the rain. Not so sure about our other animals. Alright, we are hitched up, so let's stash these underneath the sawmill as well. We'll loop in behind so we have a way out, but thankfully these are going to keep our bales nice and dry. And yeah, Tim's got a little bit of company whilst he's working in the sawmill. Super duper, so that will keep our bales dry for the time being. And next, now that we've collected all the bales, I was going to see about spraying, but I don't think spraying is going to be the best in this weather. And when I say spraying, it was going to be the fertilised spraying of our oat crop in Burfield, because yeah, we need to give that the secondary level of fertilisation. But yeah, I don't think spraying in this weather is probably the best, and it's quite a small sprayer, so it would be on the farmall, and again that doesn't have a cab. So I think what we'll do is we'll turn our attention to muck spreading field number 4, and then we can get that re-drilled. And the plan is I'm going to re-drill that with a crop like wheat or barley, or we could do another oat field, because we are going to need quite a few oats to keep our horses, but then our chickens are going to need a good amount of feed as well. So yeah, I'm thinking wheat or barley is probably the best. There we can grab our muck spreader, and yeah, one of the jobs that we can actually do in the wet, and it's mucky dirty already, so it doesn't really matter if it's wet as well. And head under the dovecote and get topped up with manure that's made from our straw. So it seems like we've consumed all of the manure. We've only got 80%, but that should be enough to go round the field, hopefully. We have got some straw left in the dovecote, so I could activate it and make some more, but I was going to hold off and keep some straw for our animals in case they need it. Alright, so let's head on in, and we can get to a rather wet muck spreading job. And yes, once we've spread this, it'll be all nicely fertilised for us to come along and drill. And we can take a look at what we should drill once we get to it. So I'm going to get this all spread, and I'll see you when we're finished. One slither remained, and we're now finished, and we're down to 20%. Oh yeah, we don't use a full trailer on this field, which is pretty handy, and we are going to have to see about getting some more straw. Luckily we will get some straw from our oat harvest later in the year. But yeah, we'll have to make sure we drill wheat or barley so we can obviously get some straw from that as well, because straw is actually a good earner for the homestead. An earner in terms of resourcing, because we can convert it into manure. So that is pretty fantastic. But what is not fantastic is this horrible weather. It's a bit gloomy. But yeah, truly is April showers. And can't be avoided. We've got to try and work in all these weathers. Right, that is the manure spreader dropped off. So I think the next thing is the drill. And we'll be drilling in the rain. But we don't really need to cultivate beforehand because our drill is a direct drill and therefore should be quite capable of just going through that grass and laying over the top whatever crop we decide. But yeah, we are going to need a seed and fertilizer top up. So from our commodity storage we can open up the vents and get some seed in. There we go. And fertilizer from the other hatch. There we go. All nicely filled up. So we can cover close. And I just want to inspect whilst we're sat in the cab what crop we can drill. Right, so it seems like I'm way off on my crop calendar. If we wanted wheat or barley, we would have had to have drilled it in September, October last year. But we are in April, so we could either drill another field of oats or we could do corn, but we don't have any means to harvest corn. We could get a corn header, of course, but yeah, we can grow corn in our open garden and that's enough to suffice the pigs. Sunflowers we could grow, again, same considerations as for corn. Soybeans, that would make a nice cash crop, but we're pretty cash rich at the moment because of all the wood, so that's good. Potatoes and sugar beets, again, we can grow root crops from the open garden, and the harvesting equipment is quite expensive for that, so I think we'll wait until we are on a bigger scale to do something like that. And that leaves sorghum, which can benefit both our chickens and our horses with feed. It's not going to leave any straw, but nonetheless it is going to be probably the best out of the crops we can select. So we'll get sorghum selected, there we go. And I don't think we're actually going to be depositing fertilizer as we drill, because we have manured it and it should have the primary level from mowing the grass. So let's just line up and have a little inspect. So the field is harvested, and on soil composition, it's good news. We are secondary level fertilized, because I think we get a primary level from mowing the grass and a secondary level from our manure, obviously. So that is pretty good. And that means that we're not going to use any of the fertilizer we've put in the drill, but that's not a problem. Right, so hopefully we should just be able to pull up and lower away. And our drill is going to direct drill sorghum in there. Fantastic. On top of our grass, or actually covering over our grass. So we can get this all drilled in the wet, and then we'll have some sorghum growing. So I'm going to crack on, and I'll see you when we're finished. Last dimple covered, and I made a bit of a hash of that. Completely misjudged one of the rows where I was doing alternate lines, so I didn't have to spend too much time turning, but then I ended up taking more time because I misjudged it and missed patches and had to go over where I'd already should have covered. But yeah, I'm only myself to blame for that one, but perhaps the weather was forcing me to rush, and also it was a little bit slippy, so difficult to manage the machinery in these conditions. But it is drilled, so we've got our sorghum in, and I guess what is good is they are getting a nice dose of water to help them grow. We can get the drill parked up, and then I think we will see what jobs we can do next. I'm hoping that the rain might stop so we can then look to spray Burfield with our oats in, because we need to get that to the secondary level of fertilisation. Okay, we can drop that in there, and I think it's getting a little bit lighter now, so potentially our rain is subsiding. But I'm going to park up the International and then wait for this rain to clear so we can get on with spraying. So we can park up the International in the shed next to our pickup, and it has got very dirty again, so we'll give it a quick wash. I did place another hose over here, which is convenient. That's better. Right, the rain has subsided. Right, so we're in the farm hall. We'll grab the sprayer, and hopefully the oats have had a little chance to dry from the wind and the warmth of April. But yet we will get them sprayed, and it's important we spray them this time, because if we leave it till next month they would have gone up a growth stage and we will likely damage them driving in the crop. Here we go, we've got our sprayer, and we've not used this a great deal because we've opted to use natural fertiliser where possible, and we've also used the hoe to weed fields. But because a lot of our fields are relatively new, they've been ploughed, so weeds haven't presented themselves. But we may have to look at getting a bigger sprayer, and that's going to help us with herbiciding when we do have fields that aren't ploughed and the weeds crop up. Fresh top up from our liquid fert barrels. And we can head to Burfield, get unfolded. Now the sprayer isn't the widest, but will hopefully do the job to a good degree. It's going to be very difficult for us to see where we have and haven't been. So this is where tram lines would come in handy, because it would show you where you had and hadn't been. But that would damage the crop, so we would need a bigger sprayer to make sure we leave less tram lines. But doing them this early doesn't damage them, so that is pretty handy. So I'm going to do my very best to track where we have and haven't gone, and then hopefully we'll have a nice secondary fertilised oat field. So leave this with me, and I'll see you when we're finished. And we've run out of juice, so it's a good chance for me to pause and see where we have and haven't been. Okay, so not too bad. I got some good coverage on the right hand side, but got a little bit thin, maybe because I knew we were running out on this section. So we'll go top up the sprayer and just see to those bits very quickly. That's us all topped up, and I'm hoping to not make too much use of liquid fertiliser. I do prefer on the homestead to use natural fertiliser where we can. Obviously sometimes when we drill we use solid fertiliser, but it is nice when we can put the manure to good use. And we don't have any slurry from our animal farm, but potentially at some point we might expand and be able to get some use out of slurry or even manure. Right, there we go. I think I'm covered. So we've used another 21%, and that's where liquid fertilizer on a small scale farm can be quite difficult, because A, you can't really see where you've covered, and B, where you can't see where you covered, you then have to repeat, and it's not very efficient, and liquid fertilizer is not necessarily cheap. So yeah, I think natural fertilizer is of course the way to go. So we'll get the sprayer parked up in here and the hoe back in front of it, and I'm thinking that maybe next time we'll look to do the shed reorg, because the sorghum we've drilled won't really need touching until harvest time, apart from weeding. So we'll probably be using the hoe next time to clear those weeds out nice and early, because yeah, we don't want to have to use liquid herbicide unless we really have to, because again, it's another expense. That's dropped off. And hopefully also, maybe not next month, but possibly the month after, we will have another grass field to mow up, and yeah, we'll probably use that for hay as well, so we've got some really good hay stocks and we won't have to do grass for the rest of the year, maybe even the following. It depends how far it goes, but yeah, we've only got a small animal operation at the moment, so really does not need too much hay, so it's nice that we've got some really good stocks. And park up the farm wall. I'll come back over to the sawmill. Our bales are still under there, drying out. I think when I know that we've got a good clear of weather, I'll take them out for them to dry. But we will have to probably get another bale shed, or utilise one of the shed spaces for these bales. It's probably best over by the animal farm, so let's take a look. So I think these sheds are obviously the closest to the animal farm. And this cultivator, I'm not so convinced on it, because it was a very deep cultivator. It did bring up stones, so I'm thinking we might do away with this and get another cultivator when and if we need one. But we have got a Case IH cultivator over here, and because we've got a direct drill, we don't often need to cultivate. So yeah, I think we'll do away with this and maybe turn this half of this large log shed into some more bale storage. But now the sun is starting to burst through the clouds, and we're getting some of the moisture that was dropped previously evaporating, leaving quite a nice evening, afternoon at the homestead. But it's going to finish early because we've had a busy day. So I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got any tips, tricks or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. All there's left to say is, I hope to see you again next time on the Frontier Farmer, and until then, I'll catch you later. Cheers all, bye bye.